So we're out here at Glen Helen Raceway. We're right in the middle of our 2016 Moto USA 250F shootout. We have every manufacturer, and this year is tighter than ever. In the 250 MX class, horsepower holds high rank, and of course, the more power, the better. Shortcomings in handling can and often are overlooked if you have the most powerful engine spraying roost and pulling you ahead of the competition. The heated debate over air fork performance doesn't resonate as loudly in the 250F class as it does in the 450F class, but that doesn't mean it's not a hot topic amongst riders. Moto USA's 2016 250F Motocross Shootout features 4 machines with traditional spring forks and 2 with air forks. The 2 air fork equipped bikes for 2016 include the revised Honda CRF 250R and the all-new Suzuki RMZ 250. The 4 bikes still using traditional spring forks include the revised Yamaha YZ250F, the all-new KTM 250SXF, all-new Husqvarna FC 250, and the Kawasaki KX 250F, which is the bike that received the least changes for 2016. To determine the strengths and weakness of each 250F in the shootout, Moto USA tested at multiple tracks around Southern California. Every 250F was tested as they come in stock form and weighed with a full tank of gas. To provide even further data, each bike was dyno tested in-house on our DynoJet dyno. We also utilized test riders ranging in both age and skill level from novice to pro. Test riders scored each bike on a scale of 1 to 10 in a number of performance categories like engine power, cornering, stability, suspension, handling, and more. Totaling and averaging those points gave us a final ranking. So without further delay, let's dive into the 2016 Moto USA 250F Shootout. Looks can be deceiving. Just take the 2016 RMZ 250 for example. It looks exactly like the 2015 model. Under the yellow and black plastic, however, is an all-new 250F with redesigned engine, new suspension, and a revised chassis. The virtually all-new RMZ 250 has a great engine that is easy and fun to ride for all abilities. Suzuki's changes for 2016 created a freer revving engine with an increased durability. Off idle, it pulls nicely into the strong mid with a decent top end over rev. With all the changes, we hoped the Suzuki would be faster than it is. Unfortunately, in stock trim, the engine is the slowest in the class. This year, Suzuki went the route of making sure their bike met strict sound requirements, muffling the exhaust more than other manufacturers. Going with an aftermarket exhaust will no doubt wake up power output and increase throttle response. The RMZ is now equipped with KYB suspension and the PSF2 air fork, the second generation of the original KYB air fork. Overall, the suspension change is an improvement in comparison to last year, and the KYB PSF2 fork is much less complex to set up than the Showa Tact air fork that comes on this year's Honda CRF 250R. Test riders struggled with finding an ideal setting on the PSF2 that provided a plush feel without bottoming. Going up in air pressure helps bottoming but takes away comfort and transmits every bump and imperfection to the rider. Proper sag is important to maintain overall balance of the RMZ. Even though the bike is quite a bit different, the new frame retains the same geometry from 2015, which means the RMZ is still amazing in the corners. The front wheel has an abundance of bite, and doesn't matter the type of turn, the RMZ will carve right through it. The Suzuki shines on tight tracks with a lot of turns and jumps. At high speeds, the RMZ still shows signs of twitchiness, especially downhills and braking bumps. Unfortunately, in a class where horsepower is king and shaving weight is important, the Suzuki RMZ 250 isn't wearing the crown. Hitting the scales at 235.5 pounds with a full tank of fuel, the RMZ 250 is the heaviest bike in this year's shootout. We applaud Suzuki's effort to improve the 2016 RMZ 250 through engine, suspension, and chassis changes. It's a step in the right direction, but being the least powerful engine in the 250F class hurts the RMZ 250, as does the lack of comfort from the air forks and unchanged styling. The all-new RMZ 250 lands in the 5th position in the Moto USA 250F shootout. The least changed bike in the shootout is the KX 250F, receiving only new graphics, a green rear fender, and a minor engine update to improve durability. Don't be put off by the unchanged 2016 KX250F, it is no slouch. The KXF has long been a benchmark in the 250F class to which others have struggled to outdo. The engine boasts an incredibly wide power band that is easy to use while providing impressive power. The KX revs to an impressive 13,000 RPM, but none of the 250Fs can hang with the KTM 250 or the Husky 250. They both rev to 14,000 RPM and make more power than any other bike in the class. You can't mention the Kawasaki's engine without pointing out the obnoxious exhaust note. It's offensively loud and raspy. Someday Kawi will change it. The KXF might not have electric start, but it is the easiest kick-starting bike in the class. Overall handling of the KX250F isn't mind-blowing, but it is the most stable 250F in a straight line and through the fast corners. With stability commonly comes extra effort in the corners, which the KXF displays proudly. It isn't a front-wheel steering bike, and it doesn't beg to lay over in a corner like the Suzuki, KTM, or Husky. The KX250F likes to be steered and controlled with the rear wheel. Staying on the gas and ripping through the corners under power is the best approach to almost any corner. Many riders assume since Big Brother, the KX450F, has an air fork, that the KX250F does as well. It doesn't use air, and it doesn't have a traditional spring fork. It uses the Showa SFF fork, housing one big spring in the right leg and damping in the left fork leg. The stock Showa suspension settings are pretty good, and the bike is well balanced. For some testers, the KX250F overall feels a bit harsh, and the solution was to back out on compression a bit and run 105mm of shock sag. We aren't blown away with the Showa SFF fork performance, but we do prefer it over most air forks for performance and simplicity. Kawasaki ergos are very adjustable and offer large riders the ability to move the handlebars forward and move the foot peg mounts down, creating a larger cockpit. An awesome engine, stable handling, decent suspension, and a proven track record as a 250F class leader earns the 2016 KX250F 4th place in this year's shootout. Honda CRF 250R has always been a great handling bike, but riders always crave more power. For 2016, Honda made a number of changes to the engine, looking to resurrect hidden horsepower while also revising suspension components. Visually, the 2016 CRF engine looks much the same as the 2015, but internal changes were about making more power, increasing the RPMs, and improving reliability. A lot of little revisions and tweaks can add up to substantial change, and this is exactly what Honda's engine changes have accomplished for 2016. The new Honda CRF is strong off idle, pulls well through the mid, and screams all the way to the increased rev limiter. Thankfully, Honda was able to increase top-end power without sacrificing any bottom to mid. The easy-to-use engine mode select button, located on the handlebars, features 3 preset maps, with mapping selection indicated through blinks from the blue LED in the button itself. Almost all testers prefer the aggressive map, Map 3, which doesn't increase power, but does improve throttle response and makes the engine feel more crisp. Overall, the 2016 Honda has a very comfortable feel. It is plush and forgiving while still holding up well in the bigger bumps and hard landings. The revised Showa Tact air fork works well on the CRF, providing a more plush feel than before. The Showa Tact fork on the CRF is an air fork that thankfully doesn't feel like a typical air fork. We like it. Cornering prowess is what the Honda CRF is known for, and thankfully that hasn't gone away in 2016. Subtle revisions to the suspension retain the CRF's balance, and as always, the Honda remains a very easy bike to get along with, especially when the track gets rough. CRF is at home railing ruts or carving a nice arc in a flat corner. Some testers felt busyness and nervousness at high speeds, but thanks to the now longer 5mm fork legs, it gives riders the option to slide the forks down in the triple clamps, increasing the overall stability. Also, the Honda steering damper can be adjusted to help curb some of the head shake issues. The 2016 CRF engine is roughly 2 horsepower stronger in the higher RPMs, a welcome addition for Honda lovers. Overall, the 2016 CRF 250R is an extremely comfortable and likable bike with added horsepower, landing it in the 3rd position in the shootout. Make no mistake about it, the 2016 KTM 250SXF and Husqvarna FC250 come out of the same factory and are the same dirt bike. The only separating items being the subframe, airbox, hydraulic clutch, brake rotors, tires, plastic, and the color of the paint. The 250s even share the same muffler, unlike the 450s. The most noticeable difference was most riders preferred the Dunlop MX32 front tire over the Dunlop MX52 tire on the FC250. One tester noted the Magura hydraulic clutch on the FC250 felt slightly smoother, but in the end, there was no way not to place both these bikes in the same finishing position in the shootout. The all-new KTM Husky engine produces smooth power that is deceivingly strong. The defining trait of the motor is how gnarly it is in the upper RPMs, and some riders may never experience the max horsepower if they are afraid to let the engine rev. It flat out rips all the way to the 14,000 RPM rev limiter. KTM and Husqvarna engines mirror each other on the dyno until right before the rev limiter, where the Husqvarna FC250 squeaks out one more horsepower over the KTM. The slightly different airbox inside the composite subframe on the FC250 provides a different airflow to the engine, giving the Husky the edge right near the rev limiter. Out on the track, the engine power feels identical. Overall handling of the all-new KTM Husky 250 is excellent, bordering on amazing. The light overall weight and slim feel helps him lay over easily in corners and change direction on short notice. Suzuki used to be the undisputed king of corners, but the KTM and Husky are right in the mix when it comes to cornering supremacy. Testers love the action of the new WP suspension on the new chassis, and the WP 4CS fork is the best it's ever been, especially for the general consumer and light riders. Fast and aggressive riders, over 170 pounds, will probably feel the bikes are a bit on the plush side. But on a rough track, that plushness translates into a comfortable and controlled ride. The KTM and Husky are light, handle great, corner amazing, have powerful brakes, use hydraulic clutches, feature easy access air filters, and of course have electric start, all features that help the 2016 KTM 250S XF and Husqvarna FC250 tie for the second position in the 250F Moto USA Shootout. It wasn't long ago that the YZ250F was desperately clinging to life in the 250F class as the last bike inhaling through a carburetor. Then in 2014, Yamaha underwent a radical redo of the YZ250F, introducing what has now become the benchmark for performance in the class, not only in the power department, but in the suspension category as well. For 2016, the YZ250F received engine revisions aimed at boosting bottom to mid power and reducing vibration. Suspension upgrades were geared towards better overall chassis balance by going to a softer rear shock spring. While the 2016 YZ250F might not hold the title for the max horsepower numbers, the delivery and response throughout the RPM range is what pleases riders the most. The great low-end punch makes exiting corners exciting and provides plenty of power to get over jumps without much run-up. Short shift it, ride it in the strong mid, or rev it. The YZF provides great performance at any RPM. The YZ250F uses KYB SSS forks, simply the best performing forks in the production motocross world. Only for our smallest test riders did the suspension feel a bit stiff. The overwhelming majority of our testers couldn't stop raving about the versatility of the YZF suspension. KYB's ability to provide a plush ride becomes very apparent on really rough tracks where the shock and fork absorb every size bump and resist bottoming extremely well. It doesn't quite conquer the corners as well as the Suzuki, KTM or Husky, but the YZF goes where you want, when you want. The Yamaha YZ250F didn't win every category, but it's how all the elements tie together that makes the YZ250F such a fun, easy-to-ride bike while providing plenty of performance for all skill levels. This is a bike that appeals to a wide range of riders, making it an excellent choice for all skill levels, earning it first place in the 2016 Moto USA 250F Shootout. 2016 is an exciting year for 250F motocross bikes. They are more powerful than ever. Matching awesome power with high-performance chassis and top-of-the-line suspension creates 6 impressive 250F dirt bikes. No matter what your size, speed, or style, each one of these bikes has something good to offer. There isn't one motocross bike that fills the needs of every rider. Performance is an obvious consideration when choosing a bike, but so is durability, aesthetics, and bang for your buck. For more information on each bike, including dyno charts, weights, prices, and rider opinions, read the full article on MotoUSA.com.